Dear students, today as part of our paper Personality Development, I intend to deliver a lecture on the subtopic Assertiveness. As usual, this topic has been divided into 5 major components starting with an introductory. The next subtopic of this lecture is entitled Benefits, following which communication has been placed, and this is followed by techniques, and finally my concluding remarks has been placed for your easy understanding. So let us first of all begin with what is actually assertiveness means to. Assertiveness is the quality of being self-assured, in the sense that if you are convinced that your stand in a particular point is highly valid, then you are assertive, and removing aggression from your stand, you take a strong and firm decision to defend yourself. So this is what assertiveness. So firmness in a stand is a simple definition for assertiveness. It is very different from adamant. Adamant is something which is lack of flexibility, and it contains highly the seeds of aggressiveness, whereas assertiveness is a self-conviction on which you are firmly standing. And this quality of assertiveness is expected to be in the character of every children, and it is a life skill which has to be developed in our developing society, wherein youth tend to dominate. Assertiveness is a method of critical thinking, wherein individuals speaks up in defense of their views in the light of an erroneous information. For instance, take the example of the Delhi rape case. So some people of orthodox nature, they said that that particular girl was seen in a public place in odd hours, and she was wearing some revealing kind of dresses, and they proposed a view of that girl being not modest herself. But what happened is the young people, they tried to argue that people should be respected and should be treated gently without any regard for the place, the time, and the method of their dressing. So what it is for a third person, if somebody is wearing a revealing dress or roaming in a place in odd hours. So this is the standpoint, and this standpoint of the young people brought large number of people in the roads to demand justice for the victim. And therefore, based on this kind of an assertiveness of the young people, the Supreme Court also took a stand to deliver strict punishment to the accused, and India became a very sensitive country which is not going to tolerate any kind of injustice rendered to women. Thus, assertive people are able to be outspoken, and they have a good analyzing skill of information that is being dropped in front of their gaze and scrutiny, and they have developed good skill of pointing out areas lacking in information and substance, and details or inaccuracy of evidence, and so on and so forth. Not only these, assertiveness supports creative thinking, and it also bolsters effective communication. In our society, orthodox giants are present, and they try to woo people to take their stand, and they try to infuse their mindset in other people. But this firmness in a stand, that is what we call as assertiveness, is giving new direction to the legal system as well as our social setup. So, from here, let us move on to the next subtopic named benefits. What are the benefits that we get through developing assertiveness? So, assertive people tend to have some characteristics. Firstly, they feel free to express their feelings, thoughts, and desires. No doubt, these feelings, thoughts, and desires are within the contours of decency as outlined by our constitution. But these kind of expressing their feelings, thoughts, and desires is very important these days, so that the civil society is coming into terms to the reality of what new and young generation they expect from the larger society. Large number of people, particularly of the rural background, they are ignorant about the changing trends in the nation's political scape, the nation's social texture are going vast change these days, and particularly these days we are exposed to the problem of corona, and new dimensions of thinking are emerging in this country, and poverty is on the other hand taking its own toll. Unemployment has become a great problem in this country. In such a situation, we have the need of assertive people who are able to initiate and maintain comfortable relationship with other people who are greatly affected and who have the problem of putting their own mind into thinking of these kinds of emerging problems. As such, assertive people know their rights and they make other people to realize what their rights are. As said already in the introductory, assertive people are not aggressive, and therefore they have a control over their anger, and they operate in a very systematic manner, so that they take recourse to the legal mechanism available in the country, and they try to take advantage of the existing system, in the sense that they repress the feeling and they control their anger and talk about in a reasonable manner, so that the others who are against them are convinced, and they also go into a proper negotiation and try to come into a solution with alternative thoughts also. Assertive people have confidence in gradual legal development or gradual social development, and therefore they come forward to compromise with others, and they guide the society to have gradual change rather than always wanting their own way and tend to have a problem in the society. They develop a good self-esteem and encourage the other alternative thoughts to take its own place and expose itself, though it is wrong in their sense. So, this is very important in a democratic society of allowing the alternative thought to expose itself fully and give its own space. Thus, assertive people are very friendly in nature rather than being uh, inimical for others. From here, let us move on to the communication of assertive people. Assertive communication involves respect, and they respect the boundaries of oneself and others. In the sense, they do not allow other people to cross their boundaries, and they also do not cross the boundaries laid by others. Herein, you should understand that by communication, we are speaking about both verbal and non-verbal communication, and fulfillment of needs and wants are based on cooperation as far as assertive communication is concerned. Psychologists, through books such as Cognitive Behavior Theory, which was published in the year 2008, they speak about behavioral middle ground. There is something called behavioral middle ground lying between ineffective passive and aggressive responses. So in this place, our assertive people have to make a breakthrough and expose their communication. If in case others' action threatens one's boundaries, then the communication takes a stand of preventing escalation of tension rather than avoiding total uh, interaction with the other person or group. These days, aggressive communication are considered to be weak arguments, and we have seen political heads who are fighting with aggressive communication as their method of taking things and issues in parliament or legislative assembly. But psychologists tend to say that this is a kind of weakness of argument. So through threatening, lying, confidence breaking, stonewalling, and violating of others' boundaries, you cannot tend to put your argument to the forefront, and it is a self-failing mechanism, and therefore assertive people do not indulge in all these. Assertive people focus on the issue and not the person. If somebody is very aggressive, they do not try to attack them personally, rather they try to pick the point and they try to defeat the point that they are making. And this is the high quality in which assertive people excel. There are certain techniques, which is the next subtopic about which we are going to deal. And these techniques include broken record in the first place. Broken record is nothing but we are repeating our communication or request time and again, and like a broken record, the same kind of request is being made again and again. And in history, you should have come across the strategy of the Congress people are very gentle in their nature and known for their passive resistance, and they resorted to petitions and prayers rather than uh, extremism or militant nationalism, and therefore finally it took longer time, but still they came out successful. So broken record is still considered to be a old technique, and the disadvantage of this technique is that when resistance continues, your request may lose power every time. You have to again repeat, and you will lose your energy, and it is very important to look that your energy is not dried out. Fogging is another technique, and this consists of finding some limited truth and through which you try to make the others agree with your standpoint. More specifically, one can agree in part or agree in principle alone. So this is another kind of communication technique that has been followed by assertive people. Negative inquiry is another major method of communication, or it is a technique, and wherein criticism based assertiveness is being enforced, and a negative inquiry is much different from negative assertion, where agreement with criticism is made without letting up the demand. So criticism is accepted, but at the same time the demand that we are putting forth is not given up. So another kind of technique is I statements. I statements can be used to voice one's feelings and wishes from a very personal position, and here you do not express a judgment about the other person, or you do not blame one's feeling on them. So here mutual respect has been put into play. So you do not demean your own position, at the same time you are not undermining the position of your opponent. So it is a matured way of making a negotiation, or following a technique in negotiating with our counterparts. In conclusion, we should understand that assertive people have increased awareness of personal rights, and they have the understanding of differentiation between what non-assertiveness and assertiveness means too, and they also have the idea about differentiation between passive aggressiveness and aggressiveness, and they also have a knowledge about verbal and non-verbal assertive skills, and these are very important for our day-to-day life, particularly where lot of confusion and incoherence come to play. So with this, my lecture on assertiveness is over. Thank you very much.